If you're one of those, dedicated language learners, you know this feeling. You've put in countless hours on grammar rules, you can conjugate verbs in your sleep, but then you get into a casual conversation with a native speaker and something just feels off.
Right.
You sound, I don't know, a bit too formal, maybe too serious, or sometimes just way too direct.
And that stiffness, that's exactly it. It's the gap between knowing what is grammatically correct and really understanding what is socially appropriate.
Okay.
It's the difference between, say, textbook English and the actual language people use to make a friendly connection. Our whole mission in this deep dive is to sort of shortcut that process for you.
Right.
We're going to unpack the simple, almost invisible phrases and techniques that native speakers use every single day to soften their tone, to make their communication sound genuinely relaxed and approachable. This is all about conversational pragmatics.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the first big insight from the sources is, well, it's genuinely counterintuitive.
It really is.
We all have this idea that to sound sophisticated, you need to add complexity, big vocabulary, building these elaborate sentences.
Right, that's the assumption.
But the findings show that to sound friendlier, more natural, native speakers often do the exact opposite.
That's the key disconnect. Formal English is, it's built on structure and precision. Friendly, natural English is built on speed and connection.
Speed and connection, I like that.
Yeah, if you're speaking to build rapport, you strip away all that unnecessary formality. That natural flow relies on shorter phrasing, softer verbs, and a generally relaxed, sometimes even a slightly uncertain rhythm.
I think we need to look at the perfect example of the shift, because it really shows that this is a skill of subtraction, not addition.
Exactly. So consider a completely formal, direct request for information. The textbook version, the one that guarantees clarity, is, "Please inform me when you arrive."
That is technically perfect, but when I hear it, I immediately feel like I've just got an HR memo.
Yes.
It implies a hierarchy, doesn't it?
It does. It positions the speaker as having the authority to demand this precise notification. Now compare that to the warm, natural, and friendly alternative.
Which is?
Let me know when you get there.
The change in feeling is just, it's massive.
Right.
We dropped the formal inform me for the super casual let me know, and we replaced arrive with the simple phrasal verb get there.
And that second phrase tells you everything you need to know about the goal of natural communication. The goal is connection, not impression.
Ah, okay.
You'd use the formal version when you're writing to a CEO, maybe in some highly bureaucratic setting. You use the casual version with pretty much everyone else, precisely because it signals, equality and a shared understanding.
That's a fantastic foundational rule, then. If you sound too smart, you might be sacrificing warmth.
That's a great way to put it.
So if subtraction is the foundation, let's move to the first technique for active softening. And this involves making these small additions to phrases, micro additions, that fundamentally change the emotional payload of a sentence.
And this is so critical for requests because, well, mitigating directness is maybe the single most important part of friendly English. In a lot of language cultures, stating a request as a direct command is just efficient. But in English, that direct command can feel abrupt or dismissive or even, a bit aggressive.
Okay, think about the classic direct command. Send me the file.
Pure order.
Right, it's an order.
So we immediately introduce softeners. The simplest way is to introduce a conditional, usually can you or could you.
So send me the file becomes the much friendlier. Can you send me the file?
Yeah.
That already feels like a request, not a demand.
And if we want to push that collaborative feeling even further, we introduce what you could call temporal softening phrases that respect the listener's schedule.
Okay.
The source material gives a great example. Could you send me the file when you have time?
That addition, when you have time, is brilliant because it just removes all the pressure for an immediate response. It's not just polite. It acknowledges the other person has their own priorities, which makes the request incredibly easy to accept.
Exactly.
You've added courtesy and reduced urgency in one little clause.
Exactly. I mean, just imagine getting an email that says, send me the report, versus one that says, could you please send me the report when you have a moment?
Completely different feeling.
The second one requires zero emotional overhead to process.
Okay, let's apply this softening idea to opinions now. Requests are one thing, but opinions are often where speakers accidentally sound aggressive.
Oh, for sure.
Simply because they're stating their beliefs with just a little too much certainty.
And this is all about preserving the dialogue. When you state a strong opinion as an absolute fact, you implicitly close the discussion.
Right, there's nowhere to go.
Exactly. If your goal is a relaxed, friendly exchange, you have to signal that your view is just a contribution, not the final word.
The sources give a really clear example of this, the one that just starts a confrontation. That's wrong. It's just so blunt.
That phrase instantly puts the other person on the defensive. Now, listen to the immediate de-escalation when you soften the assertion. I don't think that's quite right.
I noticed the dual softening there. You're replacing the absolute wrong with the partial modifier quite right, and you're adding the subjective filter, I don't think. But I have to ask, as a learner who is striving for confidence, doesn't using phrases like, I might be wrong, bet, make you sound weak or uncertain?
That's a great question, and it really hits on a deep linguistic misunderstanding.
Okay.
In this context, using an admission of potential error, like I might be wrong, it doesn't signal weakness. It signals confidence in your ability to handle disagreement. It signals humility.
So it's confidence, not weakness.
It says, I am secure enough in my viewpoint that I don't need to force it on you.
That is a huge perspective shift. So humility in conversation is actually a sign of social strength.
It absolutely is. You're inviting a conversation, not delivering a verdict.
Let's transition now to what I think are the secret weapons of natural speakers. The friendly fillers.
Yes.
These are the small, often ignored words that get peppered into our speech, and they are essential for getting that relaxed, natural sound.
Fillers, or what linguists sometimes call hedges, are basically the social shock absorbers of the English language.
I like that, shock absorbers.
Yeah, they signal to the listener, okay, what's coming next is my subjective observation, not some universal law.
And the four most common ones from the sources, and these are so easy to adopt, are kind of, a bit, maybe, and I guess.
These words seem insignificant, but they're just dramatically important. Think about evaluating something. If you say, that party was terrible.
Oof. Final judgment.
It's a final sweeping judgment. And it forces the listener to either agree or disagree completely.
Yeah, middle ground.
But if you insert a filler, that party was kind of terrible, you've opened the door. You've signaled that your assessment is softer. Maybe it's provisional. Or maybe it's only true from your point of view. It's immediately more relatable and less absolute.
It adds tentativeness. And that tentativeness translates directly into approachability. Let's try that with, say, a self-assessment. If I describe a task as, this is difficult.
That's a declaration of complexity.
Yeah.
But this is a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Signals humility, and it suggests you're managing the difficulty, not being completely overwhelmed by it.
Okay. And the most sophisticated application of this, though, has to be in disagreement when you combine multiple fillers, like in the example. Instead of the flat, blunt, I disagree,
Right.
we get this beautifully nuanced response. I guess I see it a bit differently.
That is almost a masterclass in conversational softening.
It really is.
You are still disagreeing. The core information hasn't changed at all. But the feeling of the interaction has gone from a confrontation to just a polite difference of opinion. The fillers act as linguistic cushions, absorbing the shock of that disagreement.
So the key takeaway here is that these tiny words don't really change the meaning of the statement.
Not significantly, no.
But they fundamentally change the social contract of the interaction. They add that crucial layer of relaxation and humility.
Exactly. When you sound relaxed, you signal that you're a listener, not just a speaker.
Okay, let's move to technique 3. Mastering everyday casual phrasing. This is about giving the listener an immediate toolkit.
Yeah, practical stuff.
Specific, soft replacements for phrases that tend to sound rigid when they're translated directly from your native language.
And we've categorized these by context, since professional and social softening often use different vocabulary, even though the underlying principle of subtraction stays the same.
Okay, where should we start?
Let's start with handling tasks at work. The formal, almost sterile response to being given a task is, I will check on that.
I hear that constantly in emails. The writer is clearly trying to be meticulous, but it still sounds so stiff.
It does. The natural, cooperative, and casual alternative is just, I'll take a look.
I'll take a look.
It implies the exact same action. But the softer phrasing creates a feeling of ease and collaboration, rather than some kind of mechanical duty.
That's immediately applicable. Okay, now let's move to general social conversation. If someone asks you a question and you just don't know the answer, the direct response is, I don't know.
Which can often sound like you're stonewalling them, or maybe annoyed by the question.
It's a full conversational stop.
It is. The gentler and far more common replacement is, I'm not sure.
And why is I'm not sure so much softer? What's the difference?
Because I'm not sure often implies I'm not sure right now or I'm still processing it. It leaves the door open just a little bit, whereas, I don't know, slams it shut. That subtle nuance is really powerful.
Let's talk about offering help or responding when someone apologizes. This is where register is so crucial. If someone apologizes, the formal response might be, "It is acceptable."
Which nobody actually says, ever.
Right.
The friendly, universal casual replacement is often no worries or just it's fine. It minimizes the error and reestablishes that friendly rapport instantly.
And what if you want to offer help? Instead of the somewhat formal, "How may I assist you?"
Yeah, it sounds like you're working at a hotel front desk.
Right.
We use the ultra-casual, collaborative approach. What can I do to help? Or even simpler, let me see if I can help you out. Again, just replacing these formal, multi-syllable words with simpler, more energetic phrasing.
Finally, let's revisit online communication because that's where tone gets misinterpreted the most.
Oh, constantly.
We already discussed the demand. Wait.
Which, in a text message, can easily sound really impatient.
Yeah.
The universal shorthand replacement is just a sec. That brevity itself conveys speed and casualness.
And to reinforce that, like the sources pointed out, we often lean on visual tone indicators. The simple addition of the smiley face, just a sexe, carries an enormous amount of social lubrication.
Totally. It confirms the tone is friendly and not demanding.
So the overarching pattern is clear then.
It is. Whether it's written or spoken, we shift away from definite declarations, complex formality, and words that imply status. And we move towards phrases that signal humility, flexibility, and a desire to connect on an equal footing.
Absolutely. The takeaway for you, the learner, is that conversational friendliness isn't achieved by memorizing more vocabulary, but by embracing this subtle art of softening, using these natural filler words and focusing on communicating like a real dynamic person, not like a printed textbook page. It's all about the social texture of the language.
And if you can master subtraction, just removing that stiffness and the strategic addition of hedges like maybe and kind of, you've essentially built that conversational bridge. You've transitioned from being technically proficient to being socially fluent.
That brings us to our final thought for you to consider. We spent this entire deep dive focusing on how these small adjustments, often just one or two words, can turn a stiff, demanding statement into a warm, friendly invitation. It's really a skill of careful subtraction and slight modification.
It really is.
So think about your absolute most common conversational phrase, the one you use 5 or 10 times every single day.
Yeah.
If you were to adopt the principle of softening we talked about, what small single word addition or substitution could you make to that one phrase tomorrow to instantly feel less stiff and more relaxed?
That's a great exercise.
Try viewing this mastery not as learning a whole new language, but as simply editing the one you already know.